Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
True Crime Edition. West Memphis 3 Edition. And I don't think I said this last week, but welcome to our show. And please welcome other people to our show. Spam them. Send them links. Find the episode you think they'd be most interested in and send it to them. And then threaten them if they don't listen to it.
Exactly. We do tell you how to commit crimes here, so.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready to get
Yes.
into part 2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for us, part 1 is 2 minutes fresh on the brain. So. All right.
Nothing that happens.
So, it's weird. I don't really know how to pick up. So Mary left off with the police doing a quick look at some suspects, but then pretty much setting their sights on 3 specific teenagers. So early on in the case, the West Memphis police had narrowed down their persons of interest and abandoned any other options. In a small town like West Memphis, Arkansas, with a population of about 27,000, next to its neighboring city of Memphis at 620,000, everyone seemed to know everyone. Investigators knew of a teenage boy that they had always been wary of and who they thought might do something awful one day, Damien Echols, and so that is where they set their sights. Police were receiving a lot of tips from witnesses early in the case, but many of them were contradictory to one another, making it difficult to decipher the truth. The boys were first reported missing around 7 p.m., and some insisted that they had last seen them at 6:30. Detectives did go around and knock on the doors of 528 residences nearby that next day to get surveys completed. However, they only returned with 60 surveys. Not because only 6 people answered their doors, but because they weren't sure how to do the surveys. So a lot of them just didn't. And that's on the West Memphis Police. Dana Moore, Michael's mom, said she saw them near Robin Hood Hills around 6, and another local says he saw them entering the woods around 6:30, but he only saw them from behind and just assumes it was them. Reports like this would continue like small town gossip about teen boys leaving the woods around the same time, seeing one of the boys get in the car with a black man, and even some about witches' gatherings in the woods. By this point, Michael, Stevie, and Chris's parents had been given the details of their sons' autopsies, and this information would also spread like wildfire about town, mostly coming from none other than John Mark Byers.
That man has a mouth on him.
So if you remember from part 1, this is Chris Byers' stepdad. In fact, oh yes, dad. This is Chris Byers' adopted father. I always think, I always just link him and Terry together.
Yeah. How could you not?
Yeah. In fact, the Byers family was especially close with many West Memphis police because they were confidential informants for the Drug Task Force. He was telling people,
Of course they were.
Mr. Byers was telling people the specific injuries that the boys had suffered and that the police had told him in confidence. And through the game of telephone, the commercial appeal got a hold of the autopsy results, except by the time they made it to print, the information was only partially correct. The paper also said that the autopsy showed that all 3 boys were sexually mutilated, which was not true.
Right. Also, why would you want to do that as a parent? I don't get it.
Why would you, Mary?
It doesn't resonate.
Why would you want to muddy the waters around the investigation of your murdered son?
I know. I'm just saying, I can't imagine telling everyone I know all of that.
Yeah. Arkansas State Police offered to send help to West Memphis with the case, but Sheriff Gary Gitchell declined any assistance. This could
Colin
be,
Firth.
yeah, this could be, no, not Colin Firth.
Who's Colin Firth, the FBI?
Colin Firth is like, he works for the defense.
Oh.
In the movie. This could be because he felt pretty sure he already had his guy, or could be related to the investigation that state police had just completed 3 months earlier into West Memphis Police and the Crittenden County Police. A deputy, Clark White, had wound up dead from an apparent overdose caused by white poison later found in his kitchen. Clark White was a narcotics officer, and they found out that some of the drug dealers he had been secretly working with are who killed him. Or at least they believe that, but they seem pretty confident. Although they've seemed pretty confident before, so just, I guess, take that with a grain of salt. Also, though, 14 officers were questioned for other misconduct, and several admitted to taking guns from the evidence locker, which they said everyone did. I don't understand the problem.
Okay, Edgy.
They're free guns.
No, they're not using them anymore.
They're literally just going to be destroyed. What? It's called recycling.
We're literally just repeating the Ed Gein script.
Mm-hmm. The man who found the young boy's shoe in the water leading to their bodies was Steve Jones, the assistant of Jerry Driver, the chief juvenile probation officer. Jones and Driver felt that the murders appeared to have overtones of cult sacrifice, and they made their opinions known to police working the case. It's unclear what they thought the signs of this were. What are the overtones? We don't know. Perhaps that it had been a full moon the night of the murders. Because they do point us to this fact. They created a list of 9
It's weird
people.
that you know that.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry,
it's suspicious that you know.
Why are you tracking that?
Cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know them.
No. In fact, Damien Echols probably doesn't either.
Mm-hmm.
They created a list of 9 people in West Memphis who they suspected could be involved in devil worship or a satanic cult. They also said specifically that one person stood out as capable of this crime, and that was Damien Echols. Also on the list of possible Satanists was Jason Baldwin, Damien Echols' best friend.
What is it that makes them think he's capable of this? Like, other than
burglaries.
He has black hair?
Yeah. I know, I always
as does his father.
Yeah, I always think about his crime, his rap sheet, I guess, and I'm like, I feel like we missed a few steps here.
Yeah.
Damien Echols was 18 years old. He had been born Michael Wayne Hutchison, but changed his name to Damien and took on his stepfather's last name, although he does say that he hated his stepfather, just to be clear. People around West Memphis felt that he chose the name Damien because it had an evil connotation. However, he says he chose the name after one of his favorite Catholic saints. Damien had explored various religions.
That's funny. That's so fucking funny. They're like, it's evil, and he's like, surprise, bitch!
Yeah. Damien had explored various religions over the years, and while practicing Catholicism, he learned about Saint Damien, who was known for the comfort that he provided those with incurable diseases. He eventually contracted leprosy, but refused to leave his work to receive treatment. Rumors accused him of immorality, but he was eventually exonerated in an investigation after his death. Okay, Damien, the fortune teller.
I love surprise Catholics, people who people are like, they don't represent the church well, but they know fucking everything.
Yeah.
About the history.
Yeah. In his book, memoir, whatever, Damien notes this, and we concur that even Catholicism is not common and is frowned upon in a small southern town like West Memphis. And so, while it feels, depending on where you listen from, it may feel like okay, like they thought he was worshiping Satan, but he was
Yeah.
literally like Catholic. But like even that, like people look at as like anti-Christian and like, so I think probably he's like
Many a
always
time
done
we've been
things.
called not Christians.
Yeah, I think that like by simply not being Southern Baptist, like
Right.
he was going to piss people off.
And yeah, I think when you live in the Bible Belt,
Mm-hmm.
um, Catholicism is very unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
In Memphis, pretty high Catholic population actually,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly,
Yeah.
but everywhere else, and yeah, it's like this belief that Catholics aren't Christians, that Catholics worship statues or
And
worship
saints.
saints or worship
Mm-hmm.
Mary, that
So like the whole
Catholics,
like I named myself after Saint Damien probably really didn't
yeah,
actually ease their minds.
that Catholics are like delusional because we think that we're eating the body and blood of Christ.
Which
That
also like would when he's like I
yeah,
drink blood, they're probably like mm.
yeah, that and that like you have to be saved to be
Yeah.
a true Christian, and Catholics don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Catholicism is also very ostracizing.
Yes. Damien Echols had grown up poor and his family relied on welfare programs and food stamps. He had attended 8 different schools by the age of 10. When he talked about his family, he talked about watching scary movies together as a sort of tradition. In addition to watching scary movies and listening to heavy metal music, Damien also liked to write poetry. Throughout his teen years, Damien had had mental health struggles that Mary mentioned last week, as well as run ins with the law, also mentioned. This is where he became known to Jerry Driver and Steve Jones. In fact, even during a time that Damien had moved out to Oregon, Jerry Driver remained involved in his life. He reached out to law enforcement in Oregon to warn them about this kid from West Memphis that they should be aware of. So let's flash back to the persecutory delusions that
Yeah.
Damien Echols might
Are
have.
they delusions?
When these probation officers are literally tracking what city and state he's ending up in to warn places about this teenage boy whose rap sheet consists of burglaries at this point. Wild. Like, what a strange use of your time. And God forbid he feels like, why are they coming for me? Like, I literally left their city. Like, they can rest assured, like, I'm gone. And he's still calling people about me. Like, that is nuts.
Someone's obsessed.
Yeah. He had spent some time in jail the year prior in 1992 and was admitted to a psychiatric institution after a psych eval had been completed. He says he was not aware that he was receiving a psych eval and was never informed why he was being admitted. If true, hugely problematic.
Mm-hmm.
The therapist at the hospital found Damien to be depressed, but very intelligent, and said that his, quote, use of language was a very high level, end quote. Jason Baldwin was 16 years old in 1993, and like Damien, Jason's family did not have much money. He and Damien had become best friends and did almost everything together. They bonded over shared music tastes, different kinds of artistic expression, and how much it sucked living in judgmental Bible Belt city, West Memphis. Jason had been arrested a few times for minor crimes like vandalism, and this did not stop him, though, from doing incredibly well in school. Jason got very good grades, and he was very good at drawing. So these little poet and artist boys,
They're
creative. They're just sad boys. They're just
They
like,
are the angstiest
yeah,
teens I have ever heard of.
they're just they're just like in their feels.
Mm.
And like it's also like hard to know, but like how many people in high school are like weird? They're
Yeah.
like weird. And you like do things just because it's edgy, and you dress a certain way just because it's edgy, and you're just weird. And
There was
you're
a
just
guy.
kind of like, but then you grow up and you're okay. And you're like, man, I was weird. in high school, and that's
There
it.
was a guy we went to high school with that used to wear a gas mask to school just because he could.
And it was weird, but we certainly
Yeah.
didn't think he was a child killer.
Yeah. People definitely thought he was gonna shoot up our school, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They were wrong,
Yeah.
and that's what's important.
Yep. So police went to meet with Damien Echols 2 days after the murders and conducted an initial interview in his room. Of note to them was that David, we have a new character, friends. He's white collar David. Of note to them was that Damien had a pentagram tattoo along with a few other tattoos. He is 18 after all. Was wearing all black and muddy boots, which reportedly had 666 written on them. I think later
All
it's
black.
discovered. I think later it's discovered they said 555, but like don't quote me on that. But like
Surprised it's an angel number.
I think I've heard that. Despite seeing 2 of Damien's boots with mud on them, the detectives did not collect the boots. Awesome. But they did ask Damien if he knew of any devil worship in the area or any plans to sacrifice children. Casual. Have you heard of anyone
We're
just
asking everyone this.
No biggie. During this first interview, though, police did not take any actual notes. So that I just told you, I don't know, really. Not that we trust their notes, actually, so doesn't fucking matter. The next day, the police went to interview Jason Baldwin, who, lucky them, was with Damien Echols and his girlfriend, Dominique Tier, when they arrived. They tell them that they've never heard of the 3 boys who were killed. In police records, they also report having taken Damien's photograph. People around town corroborate that they were shown a picture of Damien in those early days when police went around asking questions. But later on in the trial, the police would deny having taken his photo. Damien says that after this, some police were at his home almost daily, questioning him and everyone around him. After this encounter, though, Jason's mother stopped him from talking to law enforcement. She said,
Good.
no more of that. But Damien would be asked a lot more questions. And unfortunately, Damien is 18, so no mom to come in and say, fuck all that. He was asked about his religious practices, his tattoos, and even his own theories on what might have happened to the boys. Damien explained that he was Wiccan, which he described as a white witch group that worships a goddess. He explained that the pentagram symbol that he wore as a necklace and had as a tattoo was a positive symbol in Wicca. They even asked if water held any significance in his religion, which is interesting to me because water holds significance in a lot of religions, specifically Baptist.
The ones where you get
and
dunked
Christian religions.
into it.
You're literally dunking people in water. Okay. But I will say, but I imagine that in a religion based on nature, yeah, water probably little significant. Not in the way you think though, but cool, whatever. They note that Damien and Jason have matching tattoos along their knuckles that read EVIL. Again, maybe a bad choice in hindsight, but like
that's kind of cute.
Weird.
They have matching tattoos.
Yeah, like could you imagine
like teenage boys like loving each other enough platonically to get matching tattoos is like so cute.
Yeah. And like could you imagine like a bunch of I don't know, some sort of similar panic happens and they're like checking all these college girls in 2021 and they're finding like weird ass words written on the inside of your bottom lip and they're like slut. Well, like couldn't have been sexually assaulted. She has slut written on her bottom lip. Like stop. Like leave them alone. They're weird. Like let them be.
Jason Baldwin's a child. He's 16 years old. Like
and like
he's dumb.
I feel about Jason the way I feel about like Centoya Brown. Like ain't no fucking way you looked at this kid. This kid looks like he's like 12. Like, yo.
He looks so
He's
sad
on
all
your
the
list
time.
of 9. He made your list of 9? Come on. Okay. Anyway.
He also has got like a red mullet. Like
Yeah.
he's the countryest looking kid.
Yeah. Yeah. When the investigators asked him to theorize on what might have happened and what kind of person would do this, he said that if it was multiple people, he would think that someone would have told by now. So he thought, sounds like it might be just one. He said that Steve Jones had been there a few days before and told him that the boys' genitals were cut off and that someone had urinated in their mouths, then put them in the water to remove that evidence. First of all, a problem. Steve Jones
How
shouldn't be
the
telling
fuck
him
would you know
shit.
that?
Steve Jones isn't even investigating this. He's a fucking probation officer. Fuck off. Second, like, that's ruining the integrity of the investigation. Third, where do you have information that it seems they peed in their mouths, but then also it's washed off?
Right.
Wait, excuse me. They asked why he thought someone would choose young victims, which he explained along their line of questioning that younger victims would likely provide more power in a sacrifice because they're more innocent. So, like, to him, he's like answering, they're talking to him about like
It's
sacrificing
not
and
the
like,
answer I would give, but
but he's like, also though, like, you have to think like Damien is also fucking with them like a lot of these
yeah,
times. Like, he is like, okay, good luck. Come for
yeah.
me. Come for me. I didn't do it. Like, how are you gonna get me for this? You know? And he's like, again, in hindsight, a bad idea, but like
The
he's
shiver
the
that went through my
angstiest
body when you said that.
he's the angstiest teen ever. He's just like trying to be an ass.
Yeah.
And they're like asking him that, but he did at one point in this conversation say like, and you'll maybe get to this in the trial, I don't know, but he says like, I assume they enjoy, like, they're like, why would they want to do this? And he's like, I mean, I assume they enjoyed it, or like, how did they feel?
Mm-hmm.
They asked him, and he's like, I assume whoever did this like did it because they wanted to, and so I'm assuming they enjoyed it. And then like in the trial, they're like, you said it's common sense to you that someone would enjoy murdering 3 8-year-old boys, and he's like, it's common sense to me that if someone did something, they wanted to do that something. Yes.
Right. It's
Like,
also it's common. I was gonna say, what was I gonna say last week that there was something that was like I don't remember, but I was gonna say like that whoever did this like wanted to kill someone.
right. Right.
Duh. That's
Yeah.
why. So like it wasn't like a circumstance like
Yeah.
like oh I have no way out of this
Right.
situation
These
now.
3
Like
boys are gonna
they
attack
were
me.
right. They were like mutilated,
Yeah.
like stripped,
Yeah, and
bound.
he's
Like
not
they wanted to kill them.
he
That's very obvious.
other than saying they'd be a more powerful sacrifice, he doesn't theorize like this would be sexual. Who would kill 3 8-year-old
Right.
boys if they didn't want to have sex with them? Or this would be
Right.
whatever. Like, he is just saying like, I mean, I imagine they feel good. They may feel scared that the police are coming for them, but like I imagine they feel good or else they wouldn't have done it. Like, I don't
Right.
Damien's just saying, I don't think anyone took someone out in the woods and forced them to kill these 3 boys against
Right.
their will. Like, I think they
Right.
wanted to. In the police report, they also wrote that Damien said the number 3 was sacred in his religion. That is all they wrote. Damien admits that the numbers 3 it has significance or is sacred in his religion. That is somewhat true. What Damien said was Wiccans believe that any evil done will be returned to them times 3. So what he is saying is, as a Wiccan, I would not kill 3 boys because then
Right.
I am gonna have the worst karma ever.
Yeah.
He
And that
wasn't
must
saying
be
like I would have to kill in numbers of 3 if I was gonna.
yeah. That must be really hard for someone to understand who believes in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Right. Like, as if 3 has like no significance in
Right.
lots of religions, and just like I don't know.
Like
Third time's the charm.
Your
Lucky
mother
number 3.
when a celebrity died, your mother wasn't turning up the radio and saying this always happens in threes.
Yeah.
Is that an exclusive
Just-
experience for me?
Is that Catholicism?
Is that Italian
Lore?
like Italians are so superstitious that some like now I
Well,
as
we
an adult
started off the pop culture with like wet hair. You're like, we're gonna get sick. Like, we're inside.
so every once in a while I'll say something that like was very typical for our childhood, and then I'm like, oh, other people don't throw salt over their shoulders all the fucking time.
Yeah, weird.
That's just us.
We were doing witches rituals. That's all.
Just a little
So-
stitches.
Yeah. Damien agreed to take a polygraph test as well as have his hair and blood samples taken. It is said that his polygraph test showed deception, although he's not the first in this case to have shown deception in his polygraph test. But he's really all they needed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
In the post-test interview, the examiner writes, quote, after a period of time, he ceased to deny any involvement. Parentheses, admission through absence of denial, end quote.
No.
First of all, he spelled deny D-E-N-I-E. Awesome. Second, no, that's not how that works. Also, like, he denied through the entire polygraph test, but now in the post interview, and you're still badgering him with questions, and he said, I just want to fucking talk to my mom. And you're like, he stopped denying it. He started saying words that weren't no.
Yeah.
So
Consent through absence of rejection.
One neighborhood woman says that she saw Damien and Dominique coming out of Robin Hood Hills muddy on May 5th. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to know if this witness testimony could be true or not, considering that by this point, rumors are spreading and Damien's photo is already being shown around town.
Mm-hmm.
So if Damien and Dominique did kill these boys, like, it's still West Memphis police's fault that they didn't do a good enough investigation to be sure that a witness came up with that on their own.
Yeah, him and his pregnant girlfriend.
Also, though, what's hilarious is, I don't know if it was the same one, but someone had, like, seen someone and they thought it was Jason, but it was Dominique. Like, people were, like, getting them mixed up because they both have red hair. So then I'm like, did they see Damien and Jason coming out of Robin Hood Hills? Like, was Jason pregnant?
With Damien's, that's why they have matching tattoos.
I must say the mullet and Dominique's beautiful hair don't really look the same, but okay. Damien's ex-girlfriend, Deanna, didn't have any information, but she was open to theorizing. She said that Damien could definitely be involved, but he would have gotten Jason to do it. She does not say or theorize why Damien would want 3 little boys dead, though. Other people, though, are confident that Damien was in other places at the times of the murders. Though these are not a rock-solid alibi, various witnesses say that they saw or were with Damien between 4 and 11 p.m. He was with his mom and Dominique for a while, allegedly dropping her back at home around 5, which of course I acknowledge, like, are not the best alibi givers. Your mom and your girlfriend would lie for you, whatever. Then sometime later that night, he was on the phone with a friend for hours until 10 or 11 p.m. So between 5 and 11, he's on the phone. Were these phone records pulled? Not to my knowledge. Probably fucking not. So, awesome. Police tried to put together a timeline of May 5th. Terry Hobbs says he dropped Pam off at work at 5, telling her he would go around looking for Stevie, who was supposed to return home by 4:30. He called the police when he returned to pick up Pam from work around 9. Later on, which we will explore more as we go, Terry's story of his evening would get a little bit confusing. He says that he was driving around with his friend, David Jacoby, and his daughter looking for Stevie the whole night. David says that he had also seen the boys riding on the same street that Dana Moore had reported seeing them on. So Dana said she saw them around 6, And David Jacoby saying, yep, probably around the same time. I saw them on that same street. Cool. Or maybe earlier. I don't know. He's saying he saw them there, though. Surely he shared this with Terry as they were searching. David says that Terry showed up at his place around 5:30 and actually did not originally mention needing to look for Stevie. He just said, I'm here to hang. Stevie's out riding his bike. David said that Terry hung out until around 6:15 or 6:30 when he abruptly stood up and said that he needed to look for Stevie. David Jacoby says that Terry left Amanda with David and left. Just said, you're watching my daughter, bye.
Okay, Jesse and Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's like, in my observations, Terry is the least angry person in all of this.
Yeah.
Like, Jesse Miss Kelly's parents are angrier about the deaths of these boys than Terry Hobbs.
Yeah, yeah. Pam does admit that she wishes, you kind of said this, but she admits that, I wish I had known before 9 that he still hadn't found Stevie. I think she kind of assumed that, like, the not hearing from him meant that, like, things were okay.
No news is good news.
Right. Another timeline would come from another young boy, Aaron Hutchison, a friend of the 3 boys, or 2 of them. Rumor has it. He
What does that mean?
Basically, like, same thing with Jesse Miss Kelly. Like, what everyone says is, like, Aaron never hung out with, I think, Stevie, but, like, with one of them. But, like, for this story, he has to be hanging out with them, all 3. But
I saw something that said that Christopher was, like, a fairly new friend.
Yeah, which I think is, like, why he was on, like, a skateboard or something, right? He like, didn't have a bike. One of them, like, didn't have a bike. Oh, everything I've read, there were 2 bikes and one something else. Oh. Scooter or skateboard or something.
Maybe.
But yeah.
I definitely said he had a bike.
Maybe he did. I don't know. They only ever say found the boys' bikes, and they don't say, like, and a scooter.
Yeah, but yeah, that Michael and Stevie had been friends, like, forever.
Yeah.
But that they had, like, recently welcomed Christopher into the group, but that, like, since welcoming him in, like, the 3 were together all the time.
Yeah. Aaron gave a statement the day that the boys' bodies were found on May 6th. He said that he had seen Michael Moore after school the day before talking to a tall black man with yellow teeth. Savage.
Is it like when people say Richard Speck was pizza faced?
Yeah, or just like, I just think about people being like, kids always
what was the one
shreds.
The Jacob Wetterling when he said cheese teeth.
Yeah. But then his mother, Vicky Hutchison, also became involved when she was brought in for questioning regarding another crime. They were investigating claims that she had overcharged a customer's credit card at work by $200 while she was answering questions.
You can't be doing that.
No, or you can.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Is like our friend who worked at a boutique, and her boss like sent someone in to like steal, so that she could tell her that she wasn't paying enough attention.
Wild. While she was answering questions about this, Officer Bray asked her if she happened to have any knowledge of cult groups or devil worship in West Memphis.
Just like by chance.
He said, this credit card case is boring. I would like to ask you about something else. She says that she had heard some things and that she would be willing to go undercover and find more information.
Of course.
We can probably assume that an unofficial deal was made here because we do not hear much about the credit card charges again. Vicky would start. So Vicky is actually where we can blame all this. Vicky would start with her neighbor, babysitter, and friend, Jesse Miss Kelly Jr.
She let this man babysit for her, and she's like, "No, I think he would kill a child."
She does not think that. I don't believe it. But also, rumor has it she was fucking Jesse Miss Kelly Jr. We don't know, but they got a weird relationship. And at least,
don't tell his sweet little girlfriend.
yeah, and at least the way that like Devil's Knot plays it out, she's like very like pedophilic. Vicky asked Jesse if he knew anything. He said he had a friend named Damien who was kind of weird, and he had heard that Damien drank blood. She asked for Jesse to introduce her to Damien, and he said, okay.
In the movie, doesn't she say it like, oh?
Yeah.
Gross.
He's like, all right. So she went out and bought a bunch of books on the occult and witchy type things, and like skulls and pentagrams and candles, and like decorated her house and set it all up so that he would think she likes these things and that they could like connect. So she says she invited him over, and when he saw these items, he invited her to an SBAT, or a witches gathering in the woods. Vicky says she rode to the woods with Damien in a car, which is difficult to understand because Damien did not have a license, a car, or any idea how to drive. But she would return to the police not only with her own story of attending a cult gathering with Damien and Jesse, but also with a news story from her son. She said that her son Aaron had taken her to a clubhouse that he played in with his friends in Robin Hood Hills in the past. Now, the friends he played with were Michael Moore and Chris Byers. It was actually never said that Stevie Branch played with this group, with Aaron, Michael, and Chris. But of course, in this story, he will. Police were never able to find this clubhouse in Robin Hood Hills. Aaron told Vicky and then the police that he and his friends would spy on men from their clubhouse. They saw 5 men who would come into the woods and speak Spanish and sing about loving the devil. Probably not Spanish. Buddy, it's probably not Spanish. And I think even the detectives are like, how do you know it was Spanish? He's like, I don't know. I didn't understand it. And they're like, oh, so it was just a language you couldn't understand. Like, they're probably like, the devil's language. They're saying things backwards from Metallica or something. Are you taking notes on this craziness?
I'm just taking notes on things I need to remember.
The SBAT. All right, so, okay. When asked if he knew any of these men, Aaron originally said he did not. In his recorded testimony... I don't know anyone who's
Spanish.
Mm-hmm. In his recorded testimony, he describes them as about 20 years old. Detective Ridge asked, like teenagers? Like right out of school? And Aaron replied, like my mom. Ridge said, so kind of young. And Aaron replied, except my mom is like 30.
He said, you fucking idiot.
He's like, sure, I guess my mom's kind of young compared to your fucking ass, but like, she's like 30.
She's not in high school.
And then Rich says, well, your mom looks pretty young, doesn't she? Now, although Aaron doesn't seem to know even the exact age range of these men, he and his mom later confirmed to police that at least 3 of the men are Jesse Misskelley Jr., Damien Echols, and Jason Baldwin, who, just a minute ago, Aaron didn't know any of them, and now his babysitter is one of them? His babysitter? Okay, whatever. Aaron says that he saw the men doing sexual acts with each other. Detective Ridge asked from the front or the back. And Aaron said from
7-year-olds.
Aaron said from the front, which was not the answer Detective Ridge was looking for. So he said, oh, so it was their mouths. They were touching each other with their mouths. In addition to these sex acts, Aaron also says that the men brought a dog one time and were mean to it. Another time, they brought a cat and cut its head off. After some roundabout questioning, we get to Aaron saying that the men ate the cat's head.
Oh my god.
On June 7th, more than a month later, Aaron's story would change even more. He says that Jesse had told him to bring his friends to meet him and his own friends in the woods. So, like, before, I think he is just giving, like, hey, I've seen some people in the woods
Mhm.
before. I wasn't a part of this event, but, like, maybe this will help you.
Mhm.
Um, my theory is that all of this comes from Vicky. So, like, maybe Vicky
Yeah.
thought, like, we'll just give them a little, right? We'll give them,
Yeah.
oh,
How
we've seen,
fucking gross is it though to be
hmm
telling your
yeah,
7-year-old
yeah,
about like sex acts and like
yeah,
sacrifices?
yeah. So, like, I feel like she probably was like, well, just tell them we saw devil worship in the woods. Then that wasn't enough. So then they're like, well, we saw these 3 boys specifically. And then that wasn't enough. So now the story is going to be that Aaron was actually there on that day
Mhm.
that his friends get killed. He says that Jesse told him to bring his friends. They met with Jesse's friends in the woods. He said that when he, Stevie, Michael, and Chris arrived, the 3 teen boys had knives and tied up his friends' hands. Not their feet, only their hands. Aaron says that
Not their
he,
hands to their feet.
nope, just their hands to one another. Aaron says he ran away, but then was brought back and tied up as well, and was forced to watch them hurt his friends. This included raping, hog tying, and drowning them. He says that they were weighed down with bricks to be drowned. The police asked him, how do you know about the hog ties? Did someone tell you that? And he said, no one. I heard it on the news. Why would you ask him that? Why open that up? He
Yeah.
knows it because he was there.
He's literally saying that right now.
What? How dare you question him? He says that the teens left when they were done, but they did not hurt him. When asked,
In part 4, do you have anything from Aaron as an adult?
I will, yeah.
Okay, because I gotta know, like,
Yeah. Aaron and Vicky changed their tune.
well, yeah, and I wonder how he feels about his mother.
I haven't like deeply dived, but from what I know, he does not blame his mother. So I don't know.
Well, she's the
Um,
only person there is to blame.
yeah. um, duh, duh, duh. When asked why they didn't hurt him, if they hurt the other 3 so badly, he said, "This will break your heart." It's like the Jacob Wetterling's friends trying to give the DVD.
Mhm.
He said, they couldn't hurt me because when they came near me, I kicked them real hard, like this. And he showed them that he kicked these
His
friends.
best kicking. He did his best kicking.
And they were satisfied with that answer. Aaron would also later claim that he was actually forced to mutilate and torture his own friends. I don't have like details on this either. And I don't know
What
like
a
if this was like in
fucking
trial. When they say
doozy of a
later, I'm like,
mom.
yeah, I'm like, is this in trial? Like, I don't know. And I think it's like a mixture, right? That like he is also like able to read the police and they are not liking certain
Yeah.
answers. And so then he'll like push it a little further. Oh, stop that. I am gonna play you a little clip of Aaron. Can you see Aaron? Okay.
Where was Chris?
Getting killed too.
Who had him?
Damien.
Or who held him while Damon cut Michael?
Jason.
Jason helped Chris. Okay, what did they do to Chris?
Did the same thing to Michael. What they did to Michael.
Okay, and then what happened?
Then they threw him in the water.
Did they do anything else to him before they threw him in the water?
They cut the fiber spot off.
Did they have their clothes on? When did they take their clothes off? After they cut them?
And then I started running.
Or what kind of clothes did Michael have on?
His Cub Scout t-shirt and dog pants.
Okay.
I can't remember what kind Chris had on.
Okay. When they you say they put them both in the water? How did they put him in the water?
They tied him and then pushed him.
How did they tie him?
They
Can you show me how they tied him?
they had the feet and hands up like this.
What did they tie him with?
Rope.
Where did he get the rope?
They found it.
Okay. When did little Jesse come back?
After they killed Michael Chris
Or where had he been?
behind Blue Bentley truck stop
Okay. Was he by himself? Where was Steve?
with him.
Was Jesse? Okay. Was Steve still alive?
Steve died too.
Who killed him?
Jesse.
How? Do you know how he did it?
I don't think Jesse was the one that killed him.
Where was he at when you seen him? Where was Steve at when you seen him?
Oh, Jesse just had his hand like this, and then whenever he got up there, he asked him, "Why'd you kill those boys?"
Jesse asked him that.
Jesse didn't kill one of them. He just said that he said that he was out of the gang. They took Steve and killed him.
Oh, they took Steve away from Jesse.
And Jesse punched him off.
He did. You seen this?
Jesse didn't. Jason was the one that killed Steve.
How did he kill him?
Same way they did Michael and Chris
Did they hit him with anything?
with the fish.
What else?
That's all.
All right. Thoughts? What a little nugget. A little stressed out, can't stop playing with his pants nugget.
Yeah, I think like he's only given kind of like yes or no answers.
Yeah, and
It
he
seems
you
like
can
we're,
already
like-
tell he's changed a little. Like now they
Yeah.
are tied to their feet.
Yeah. He's like, oh, Jesse killed, like he like paired one
Mhm.
up with each of them,
Yep.
and he's like, no, wait, Jesse didn't do it. And then
Which
he's
I
like,
think is like
I don't
so
know.
right. Like, isn't that like so sad to think like he's trying to preserve at least the one he knows, his babysitter. Like he's like, no, actually, like Jesse didn't kill any of them, like, because he doesn't want Jesse to get.
Yeah.
He's like, they tied him with rope. Where'd they get the rope? They found it. Like, I don't fucking know where murderers get their weapons, sir.
I wasn't shopping with them.
Yeah, like I don't know. He's so small.
They're also small.
Yeah, I don't. That awful background.
Little
I
little
do
Jesse.
apologize.
Little Jesse is not inaccurate.
Little Jesse. Yeah, it's true. He described where his friends had been stabbed, although it was inconsistent with the boys' wounds. The detectives asked who took off the boys' clothes, and Aaron assigned each boy to a teenager. This is where Aaron identifies that these are some of the men that they had been watching from their clubhouse all along, and he knows them all by name. Somehow, originally, he just didn't realize that one of the men he watches eating cat heads is actually his babysitter. He
Who knows
just said,
Spanish?
saw you eat a cat head last night, but sure, come hang out with just me. I'm not nervous. Throughout the interview, Aaron begins to say that this is probably what happened, or this is what I think happened. So we already kind of talked about this, but I do feel like Vicky started by convincing Aaron, like, you need to help mom. You need to share some information, and it'll help him find your friends. And she thought it would help her case. And then when she figured out what the police were wanting, which she probably figured out, like, they just want Damien. So I'll give them Damien. So, yeah, poor Aaron. While various interviews were taking place, the police were continuing to look for some physical evidence. On May 12th, they tested the area that the boys were found in for luminol, and they did find blood evidence, but none of it had been seen by the naked eye. Some of the areas that lit up were from investigators pulling the bodies out of the water, but some did seem to be from the attacks. On June 3rd, police brought in Jesse Miskelly Jr. for questioning. They had received permission from his dad to interview him after telling him that Jesse could earn a $30,000 to $40,000 reward if he happened to have any information that could help them. He agreed to let him talk to the police because what would be the harm? He either wouldn't get the money or he would. So Jesse was 17 years old and, like the other two, had grown up in a poor family. Jesse had 9 siblings in total from his dad's various relationships. He had experienced abuse in his childhood, sometimes at the hands of his father. I can't seem to find any information about his mom, so possibly abuse by her as well. Not sure. Jesse describes that his dad, quote, drank like a fish, and that bad times sometimes happened when he drank. He says that his dad played very rough with him, even throwing punches, but he still looked up to his dad and loved him tremendously. At 8 years old, Jesse was suspended from school for his rage, which included ripping his own hair out, tearing his clothes, and getting in fights. The only person that Jesse would never hit or fight back was his dad. He was only 5'1" and 120 pounds. He saw several mental health professionals who determined that he needed treatment for his behavioral problems, but his family was unable to afford more than a few counseling sessions. In his teen years, Jesse did admit to using marijuana and alcohol as well as huffing gasoline. Testing determined that Jesse had an IQ of 72, with reasoning levels between that of a 6 and a 9-year-old.
Mm.
At least they weren't as brutal as they were to Centoya.
Yeah. They said, and you're ugly too.
Yeah. At the police station, Jesse's questioning began around 10 a.m., although it was not yet being recorded. At this point, he's denying any involvement in the murders of the 3 boys. He said that he had heard about the murders on the morning of May 6th and then started hearing rumblings around town that Damien could be involved. Around 11, police are said to have read Jesse his rights and received a signature from his dad to allow them to perform a polygraph test. Jesse later says that Detective Durham told him that they were going to do a polygraph test and that the test can read minds.
Mm.
Yep. I find this and another fact I find make it very hard to believe that, like, they couldn't have known Jesse's intelligence level.
Mm-hmm.
You do not tell someone that you think has an 18-year-old's intelligence level, this test can read minds, because they're going to laugh in your fucking face.
Right.
You knew what you were doing. During this unrecorded time, Jesse says that the police were telling him most of what happened and having him repeat it back to them. When he would repeat it back incorrectly, they would yell at him, saying, "God damn it, Jesse, stop messing with us," or something along those lines. He was also shown Chris Byers' autopsy photo and played an audio clip that was not given any context, in which Aaron said, "Nobody knows what happened but me." Now, this I'm a little confused about because Aaron's, like, official interview is after Jesse's, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they did have, like, something like that one we watched was after. So yeah, and that clip is played, like, ominously in the courtroom. It's like a whole "nobody knows what happened but me."
That's the child saying it.
The tape recorder was switched on at 2:44, after nearly 5 hours of questioning had already taken place. In this testimony, Jesse says that Jason Baldwin called him early on the morning of May 5th and asked if he wanted to walk to Robin Hood Hills with him and Damien. He told Jason that he couldn't come because he had to work. However, with no further explanation, Jesse tells the police that he did go. Not sure how he got out of work, but I'm guessing they didn't like the answer of, "I was at work all day." He says that they met up with the 3 young boys, and soon after arriving in the woods, he saw Damien hit one of the boys. When asked to identify which boy, he pointed to a photo of Chris Byers, but named Michael Moore. After he was corrected, he continued to say that Jason Baldwin hit Stevie Branch and Michael Moore took off running. Jesse had to chase him and bring him back. I will note that Jesse was not very close with Damien and Jason, which we mentioned before. They knew each other and were school friends, but they didn't necessarily like call Jesse a lot and ask him to come hang out. That was not really what they did. He then says that the boys were cut in the face and at the bottom. That's the quote, at the bottom. He was interrupted and asked, now, when you say bottom, do you mean right here, like the groin area? And Jesse replied, mm-hmm. And they asked, now, do you know what a penis is? And Jesse said, yeah, that's where they cut him. He says that the boys' arms were tied, but not their legs, and that they would have been able to run still. He says the reason that they didn't run is that they were so badly beat up already. Originally, he claims that they were tied with rope, but when the detectives expressed their disapproval of this answer, he remembered that the correct answer was shoelaces. He describes in detail the sexual assaults done to the boys, even though there are technically no physical signs of sexual assault in the autopsies, aside from the possible mutilation of Chris Byers. But now Mary says some anal contusions, booty scratches, which could be
You can say that.
well, like scratches on their bottoms, which
Yeah.
could be anything. I even think
Yeah.
like you're laying them down on a bunch of sticks
Right.
afterwards. Like
Right.
who freaking knows? Asking a 17-year-old if they know what a penis is seems to me the second clear indication that you are well aware of his intelligence level.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse
Asking a
says,
17-year-old boy.
yeah. Jesse says that all of this occurred around noon. The detective asks, was it after school let out? Jesse said, no, I don't go to school.
I don't know what
Well,
fucking
fuck
time they
when
get out of
school
school.
lets out. And they said, but these boys do. And he said, oh, they skipped school that day. Detectives, unfortunately, knew that the boys did not skip school that day. So they did not like that. And they kept pressing.
The
They
wrong
asked-
answer.
They asked, well, do you know what time it is right now? Do you wear a watch? Jesse said, no, I don't know what time it is right now. I left my watch at home today because my dad brought me straight to the police station. But before he could really finish that thought, they said, oh, well, since you don't wear a watch, you might not really have known what time it was. You could be off because right now you're confusing me with the times. That sounds like a you problem, friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to play you a little clip of Jesse's interview too. We don't get to see him, but you can hear, oh, stop that. You can like hear kind of the guidance.
Where were the bikes at?
They laid their bikes down when they came out there to the when they hollered for them, told them come out there.
Where did they lay their bikes down? That's what I'm asking.
I don't know where they laid their bikes at down there, cause I was behind Damien and them, way behind them.
Okay.
And when they hollered, then I seen the boys.
The little boys came on over.
Mm-hmm.
Had Damien seen these boys before?
Yes.
Has he done things with them before? Or has he just been watching them? Has he had sex with them before? Has he ever had sex with any of them before?
No, he's been watching.
He's been watching them. You mentioned earlier that at one of the meetings you went to with this cult thing, they had some pictures. Describe those pictures for me.
It had some houses, the trees and stuff.
Okay. Had somebody taken pictures of these boys?
Mm-hmm.
Were they in the houses or were they in these trees when they took those pictures?
The houses.
At the houses. Did they take like one picture of one boy?
It was in a group.
Always three?
It was a group of pictures of three. All three of them.
All three of them would generally be together.
Mm-hmm.
How many pictures did you see
I
altogether?
just saw one.
Okay. And it had these same three boys in it?
Mm-hmm.
You're certain of that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you say the boys skipped school that day? These little boys did?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
They was going to catch them, going somewhere, and like I said, Damien and them left before I did. I told them I'd meet them there and stuff. I had to get ready and stuff. I'd meet them there. And it was early in the morning, so they went ahead and met me up. They went ahead went up there, and then I came up, later on behind them.
What time did you get there?
I got there about 9.
In the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Of Wednesday morning?
Mm-hmm.
And
What time is it right now?
Right now?
Yeah. You don't know what time it is?
do you not wear a watch?
It's at home.
So
My dad woke me up this morning.
your time period might not be exactly right what you're saying.
Right.
But it was like early in the day, but you don't know exactly what time. Okay. Because I've got some real confusion with the times you're telling me. But now, this 9 o'clock in the evening call that you've got, explain that to me.
All right. Thoughts on for Jesse?
Like, I'm
There's
trying
what
to
we do
describe
here.
pictures that a cult has taken, and he's like, they have houses, they have
And trees. Yeah.
There's some pictures.
Yeah. Oh man. So Jesse says that he left early because he couldn't stand to watch what they were doing to the boys. He recalls Damien and Jason called him around 9 p.m. asking why he had left. He says that he did go into the woods with these boys sometimes in the past to have cult gatherings where they would sometimes kill dogs and, quote, screw girls. The police were mostly satisfied because by the end, they had received a story that pretty closely matched Aaron Hutchinson's, or that they could make match Aaron Hutchinson's. They needed to clean up one detail, though. It is documented that the recorder was restarted at 3:45 p.m., but on that report, next to the time is written incorrect, so it isn't actually clear what time the recorder starts again. Gary Gitchell. Well, Gary Gitchell estimates that it was around 5, but we don't trust him. They asked him again what time this allegedly occurred. He says that the young boys came to the woods between 5 and 6. And the detective replied, but you told me earlier around 7 or 8. So which one is it? Jesse said 7 or 8. And they said, so is 6 a normal time you meet up to do your cult stuff? Does 6 mean anything? First of all, you made him admit that it wasn't 6, that it was 7 or 8, just so you could bring it back because you wanted him to say, we love 6s. Because we love the devil. Jesse had mentioned that the boys were beaten with sticks, so later Brian Ridge went back into Robin Hood Hills and grabbed a bunch of random sticks and entered them into evidence. He did not choose them for any particular reason, and it is unclear if these ever got tested, but if they did, it seems like there was nothing of note. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. That same night around 9 p.m., the police requested search warrants for Damien, Jason, and Jesse's homes. And the items that they seized from their homes included random pairs of pants belonging to multiple family members, blankets, a heating pad, some of the parents' coats and robes, and children's clothes from Walmart belonging to their younger siblings. They said that they found microscopic similarities between some of the clothing and fibers found on the victims. However, the fibers also matched clothes from Michael Moore's house and the children's clothing from Damien's siblings. Again, these are clothes from Walmart, and I assume that in West Memphis in 1993, there are not like an abundance of places that people are shopping, especially poor people. So the fibers would have been microscopically similar to just about anyone with Walmart clothing in the area. Only an hour or so after the search warrant was executed, they arrested all 3 teenagers around 10:30 p.m. and charged them each with 3 counts of capital murder. And that is where Mary will pick us up when they're on trial for capital murder.
Right now. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
I need to go. Stretch. See the sun.
Touch grass.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we'll do trials next week, and then we will end it all with other theories. What the
Mhm.
heck else could have happened?
Yeah.
So.
Bye.